those of you that aren't overly familiar, Alfa Romeo began building cars in 1910. They began racing cars in 1911, the birthplace of Alfa Romeo, Milan, Italy. In fact, we're going to celebrate Alfa Romeo's 105-year anniversary at an event that we have planned for the newly reopened Alfa Romeo Museum in Milan here on June 24th. And at that event, we're also going to reveal kind of a third Alfa Romeo car, mid-size sedan car, very similar dimensioning to that of the BMW 3 Series. And you'll hear a little bit about that on June 24th. And then we'll do some things in North America as we get in later in the year into Q1 2016 when that vehicle is going to start to show up in our market. Began racing in 1911. Alfa amassed a pretty impressive racing resume. First World Championship in 1925, Formula One World Champion in 1950 and 1951. And that racing resume included, 5 World Championships, 17 European Championships, 4 24 hours of Le Mans, and 10 Targa Florios as well, just to name a few, and many, many more. And what Alfa Romeo really systematically did over the past 104 years in racing is really use racing as a bit of an innovation laboratory, and experimented with various innovations, everything from monocoque bodies to variable valve timing to balanced weight distribution on the racetrack. They either invented these things or certainly perfected them in racetracks around the world, and then looked to apply that technology back to the street cars. And I think a great example of kind of street and race technology coming together was this vehicle here, the 1967 Tipo 33 Stradale. And aside from really having timeless kind of design and style to the car, it was a vehicle that went 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds, top speed of 160 miles an hour, all aluminum body. The vehicle weighed under 1,500 pounds, an incredible power to weight ratio. And back in the time, this was one of the most expensive cars available for sale at that time at about $17,000, but you kind of fast forward to today, if you can get a Stradale for under $10 million, I recommend you grab it or even contemplate buying two. And as well, the Stradale, was also the inspiration for the return of Alfa Romeo to North America, and specifically the inspiration for the Alfa Romeo 4C. And the Stradale was a prime example of what kind of the great Alfa Romeos represented back in the day, which was really state-of-the-art technology, kind of incredible performance, and really that drop-dead gorgeous Italian design and style. And as we relaunch the Alfa Romeo brand here in North America, these are really the key pillars that we're looking to adhere to and be true to. And when we think about the 4C, and get behind the wheel for some of you again on the car, it's a great example of the technology, performance, and style that we're talking about. And I think from a technological standpoint, what is quite unique about the 4C is really its technological makeup. Carbon fiber chassis, 3 times stronger, 7 times lighter than that of a steel equivalent. Richard's going to talk about some of the other vehicles that are out there that have a carbon fiber chassis, and not only the carbon fiber chassis, but the aluminum subframes, front and rear. You get a good look at that. Mid-engine setup, and a sheet-molded compounded body, or SMC body, having the vehicle weigh under 2,500 pounds, both in the coupe as well as in the Spider. And it's handcrafted at our Maserati workshop in Modena, Italy. I often say, hey, we make minivans, but we create Alfa Romeos, and there's a big difference. It's a very much a handmade process, handcrafted process with respect to the building of the 4C. When we look at the engine setup, being mid-engine, all aluminum block, direct injection, 1,750cc turbocharged inline 4-cylinder, made to a twin-clutch automatic transmission with gear shifting up to 130 milliseconds. So lightning quick gear changes, 237 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, power to weight ratio right around 10.1 on the car, and not only that, from a performance standpoint on the car, 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. To put that into context, up to 1.3 seconds faster than the Porsche Cayman, up to a half-second faster than the Porsche 911 on the 0 to 60. And not that anybody is buying this car because of fuel economy. It gets 34 miles per gallon, which I think is really an indication as to the efficiency of the car. The lightweightedness of the car at under 2,500 pounds. The Spider only adds 22 pounds. Most convertibles will add 150 to 200 pounds of structural reinforcement, and in essence add a tremendous amount of weight because of the rigid chassis already on the 4C. It's a perfect canvas to launch a convertible. Alfa Romeo DNA switch, DNA, dynamic mode, natural mode, all-weather mode, and the third mode is the race mode, which we'll talk a little bit about that and give you a demonstration of those modes. If you forget it, or if you've forgotten from driving the coupe or you're new to the 4C, as to how those modes can allow you to dial in your driving preference or to meet the road conditions that you're confronted. And then, of course, the design and style of the car, I think, somewhat speaks for itself. But I've often said when it comes to the 4C, the vehicle is really like fine art. It needs to be understood to be appreciated. People that just look at the car and say, hey, that's a pretty nice looking car, but you really need to understand the makeup of the car with the carbon fiber, aluminum subframes, the mid-engine setup, the slight weight of the car, and of course the performance that enables of the car to really get a sense of what we're talking about here on this vehicle. So unique in that regard. I'm going to pass it to Richard, who's going to get into the Spider in a little bit more detail, and then I'll give you a bit of an update as to how the logo is going so far from the road.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. So you're clearly in for a great day today. You get to drive this car out on the track at Laguna Seca, but also on the Pacific Coast Highway, which is only fitting because when you think about this car, this is the kind of car that really, the harder you push it, the more challenging the course, the more rewarding it is to drive a car like this. So one of the key characteristics, one of the key characteristics of this car is the carbon fiber chassis monocoque tub that you see over there. So only fitting that as we transfer over to the Spider, we've enhanced the carbon fiber in this vehicle. One of the key ones here is the windshield frame. So similar to the chassis itself, this is not mere decoration. This is integral to the structural integrity of this car. So this is not a thin veneer carbon fiber over an aluminum frame. This is fully constructed of carbon fiber, just like the chassis tub itself, fully comprised of carbon fiber. It's also been designed in a unique way so that it minimizes the buffeting in the interior, but also it's got a lip under here as well that you can tuck the soft top under so that you can go at speeds of up to 160 miles an hour with the soft top securely in place. Then we've also added a carbon fiber halo that you can get on this car, as well as a carbon fiber hardtop that you can remove as well. And I should mention, we'll do the demonstrations out there as well and help you take the soft tops off this car. But you fold it out, stow securely into the trunk, so that wherever you go, you've got that flexibility. If it happens to rain, just like we did last night, you can quickly and easily put the soft top back on or take it back off. Now, as you move to on the back end of the car, we've also got a new dual mode center-mounted dual exhaust. So by dual mode, what that means is you put in dynamic mode or race mode, it bypasses the muffler, so you get even more of that, intoxicating alpha exhaust mode, and it's also wrapped with carbon fiber as well. And as we move to the interior, as you can imagine, you take the top off this car, the carbon fiber tub is even more exposed to the elements, and you appreciate the engineering that has gone into this car. And then also on the inside, we've offered a couple of unique options as well. So we've got carbon fiber that's now been added, or that you can get on the carbon fiber vents, as well as on the IP, and on some of the other accents in the interior. One of the other things that we've done with the interior on a 4C Spider is the leather interior is standard on all of them. So the leather seats, the leather wrap on the doors, and the leather wrap on the dash that you'll find in all the cars out there, that is standard in all of our 4Cs. Now, one of the other things, of course, with a car like this, you want the ability to customize. So if you think about the first launch editions, they all had a very similar look to it, but now our customers are asking for that customization ability. So we're giving that to them. You get 7 different paint options, including this, the yellow, giallo, if I pronounce it remotely correctly. So that is the exclusive, one of the exclusive colors on the Spider. You've also got a choice of 6 different seat options, including 2 that are unique to the Spider. You've got 6 different wheel options, 4 of which are unique to the Spider, and then you've also got 4 different brake caliper options. So truly you can customize this car in any number of different ways. Now, despite all of these things that are unique to the Spider, one of the best things about this car is what has not changed. As Reid mentioned, if you think about the typical transformation from a coupe to a convertible, most of those vehicles feature significant trade-off. The number one enemy of any convertible, weight. They typically have 200, 300, 400 pounds of weight. Structural rigidity is compromised, and then they soften the suspension to compensate for that. The end result is you end up with a vehicle that drives nothing like the coupe namesake. You wouldn't want to take the convertible out on the same track that you would the coupe. That's where this vehicle is different. Thanks to that carbon fiber monocoque chassis tub, 0 modifications have been made to that tub. The end result, this Spider weighs about 22 pounds more than the coupe, coming in at 2487 pounds to be exact. So that means with the same engine, 237 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, a 6-speed twin-clutch transmission that rips off gear changes in 130 milliseconds, and as well, you end up then with the same performance metrics. 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, 1.1 G's on the skid pad, and a top speed of 160 miles an hour, which means this is equally as rewarding on a track or on a Pacific Coast highway as is the coupe. And then perhaps the best part, it's available starting at $63,900. So, I want to put that into context though. If you think of last year, there were 61 different convertibles that were for sale in the U.S. marketplace that combined for nearly 140,000 sales. But of that, only a handful had the same characteristics as a 4C Spider. Carbon fiber chassis, aluminum subframes front and rear, and a mid-engine design. And all of those cars costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not in excess of $1 million. Truly put in 4C Spider in some very rare territory. And all of which means that now you can get that open-air motoring in an Italian mid-engine sports car that is handcrafted in Italy, offers supercar levels of performance, and of course, $1 million technology, $1 million looks, with no compromise from the coupe. So that let me pass it to Reid, who's going to give you an update on the U.S. market.
So that's one of the $60,000 questions that a lot of you often have about the 4C is, well, who's the competition of the 4C? What's the competition? From the technological setup perspective, 3 of those 4 cars are more than $1 million. The McLaren P1, the Spider 918, and the LaFerrari still up there already. I don't know if that's really necessarily the competition. You look at an Audi TTS or a BMW Z4, they weigh about 1,000 pounds more than that of the Alfa Romeo 4C. So is this really in the same league, even though it's in a similar price point to that of the Alfa Romeo? To get back to the Porsche Cayman, talk about the 0 to 60 differences of it. Cayman's a nice car. You get the Cayman S, the Cayman GTS. It's going to pass the 4C candidly on a straightaway, a long straightaway, but darting in and out. And certainly the technological setup is a little bit different on that car versus that of the exposed carbon fiber on the 4C. But look, you're the judge. It's certainly a unique car in its setup, in a unique class, at a unique price point, given what we put into this vehicle. Just quickly with respect to what we're trying to do here, we're launching a car, but we're also in the process of launching a brand. So from an Alfa Romeo perspective, in the U.S. currently, about 120 dealerships will, under all circumstances, be completely separate from our mass market brands of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. We've got it separate from those facilities at both Maserati facilities throughout the United States, as well as Fiat Alfa facilities. When we get more critical mass product, you'll likely see a number of standalone Alfa Romeo dealerships, and even in the case of Canada, you'll see, in fact, in the greater Toronto area, we've got Alfa Romeo, Maserati, and Ferrari at 2 dealerships up north of the border. So that's really the affiliation of Alfa Romeo. It will be the Italian tie-in, and at our auto show displays, you've seen us collaborating with that of Maserati and generally sharing floor space. 40 sales last month in May. We're averaging about 60 sales a month. Sales are largely a function of production. When we get the production, we sell the 4C. When we don't get the production, the boat doesn't arrive. We have a little bit of ups and downs with respect to that. The good news is average days on lot are 17. We currently have about 30 Alfa Romeos on the ground. You can do the math. 90%, 80% of our dealers don't even have one in stock, and our ability to stock them up is a bit of a challenge because, as I mentioned, it's a handmade car. It's about a 6-week process to build the 4C, and the vehicle is created versus being mass produced. Average transaction price right now on the coupe, $72,000. The Spyders are going to start to arrive into U.S. dealerships around August of this year, kind of still lots of summer left. As far as marketing and advertising, very little right now on Alfa Romeo. We have a presence at the major auto shows, Los Angeles, Detroit, Chicago, New York, some grassroots events, the Concourse of the Elegance near the island, Command Fair, Pebble Beach. We were there last year, we will be there again this year. And I think what is impressive is very little marketing, very little advertising. The interest in the Alfa Romeo brand is quite impressive. We're up to 600,000 visits to our website now every single quarter. I think if you look at the number of website visits to the number of sales, that ratio has got to be an all-time record in the automotive industry. So it's good to see that consumers are out there researching Alfa, going to our website, and showing a tremendous amount of interest. On the social arena, getting after a little bit more of a younger demographic, 570,000 Facebook followers with respect to our Alfa Romeo Facebook site, looking to keep that as fresh as possible. Over 9 million views of the YouTube video that we put out there. So a lot of grassroots activities right now for Alfa Romeo in an effort to build up the awareness. And we will start to crank things up in a kind of late fourth quarter and certainly into the first quarter of 2016 as the D-Sedan, mid-size sedan starts to arrive to look to get much more mainstream awareness around Alfa Romeo, but staying true to the technology, the performance, and the style attributes that we're looking to get across to consumers as to what Alfa Romeo is really all about. And this is really just the beginning. 4C Coupe, 4C Spider was the beginning of commitment to the Alfa Romeo brand, and its reintroduction into North America is unprecedented, pledging over €5 billion and $6 billion US, targeting in and around 150,000 sales by 2018.